Welcome back, everybody, to some DCRL action. We're on a lovely, lovely Monday school off day, and you got the boy, his first cast of the season, Chalupa. Dude, I have not casted with you since LAN, so I am happy to be back on the desk with you. Happy to see your bright and happy face here. And yeah, we got some decent action. We got some DIV action. LOB-OTOMY takes on Goofy Goobers, a 2-0 team versus an 0-2 team. It's really going to come down to who's got their stuff together today. Ooh, I'm ready for this one, Chalupa. Oh, give me 1 second, Chalupa. Chalupa, I've got a lovely thing where it decided to mute you. So give me 2 seconds to make sure that's correct before we go back into this. Huh. Little scuffed action, that's okay. There it is. All right. Talk again?
Are we good?
Yeah, we're back. You can say what you're trying to say again.
Okay. All right. I haven't been following a ton, but with what I have seen from these teams, like all of them seem really solid. A lot of changes from last semester. Obviously, a lot of the guys from Div C going up into Div B, which is always nice to see. The guys that I was playing against are going up in the ranks, so love to see that. And obviously, some of these guys are some familiar faces that I've played against. So I think it's gonna be pretty good matchup today.
Yeah, same. I can't wait for this one. These two teams looking honestly like some of the stronger teams early season, but I mean, one team's proved themselves a little more, the other team not so much. As we take a look at the Div B team standings, we find Goofy Goober sitting at that C3 slot, 60% win percentage on average going to game 5s. Not great, but not much you can do about that. I'm pretty sure they had a couple of pretty good runs when they went to game 5s, so I mean, I wouldn't be complaining. And they're league leading in one thing, shots. 9.9 a game is nuts. Is it nuts?
Oh my goodness.
But they got to get that shooting percentage up. Sitting at 25%, that's not going to work very well, especially if you get shut down to a lower shot total in a game. You'll be down in goals really quickly. What do you see on LOB-OTOMY, Chalupa?
Oh yeah, so with LOB-OTOMY, starting off a little bit weak, but it was 2 game 5 losses. So even though they are 0-2 in the season, obviously they're still keeping up with the competition. They just haven't been able to finish it out. Something that's a little bit unfortunate to see, as they are almost the bottom when it comes to shots per game, which is the complete opposite of Goofy Goobers, obviously, at 6.3, just above Dog Nappers. But they do have one of the higher shooting percentages, so when they do get those shots, they're able to finish it out. Some of these stats, all the assists, they're looking pretty even in terms of like each team. And their save count is 5.6, which is unreal. And Dog Nappers is just barely beating them in this league. But they're like neck and neck in saves. But 5.6 saves, that is nutty. Each person probably getting around 2 saves. That's a decent amount. But I think it could still be either team's game, even though obviously they're 0-2. They were both game 5s. So they still have that like fighting chance on them being able to beat Goofy Goobers.
Yeah, no, sure. For sure. I think there's 2 things, Chalupa, specifically that stand out between both these teams that I'm going to be looking at for this game. Specifically one, and that is closing out series. One team has gone to game 5 twice. One team has won game 5 twice. The other team has also gone to game 5 twice and lost both times in game 5. So it really comes down to who's going to be able to close out these series as we move deeper into the weeks, who's going to get the wins that they need, and who's going to be ready for when playoffs come around. On top of that, demos. One team in this group is nearly the most demoed team in the league. The other has a pretty high demo count, not near top of the league, but one of the highest in the league. So you can't overlook the fact that Goofy Goobers, on average, with Skull on that roster, are putting up 3.8, while LOB-OTOMY is putting up 4.9 against them and only 3.2 for them. So it's really going to come down to who gets demoed more, who's able to close out this series, who's got the better play style going into this matchup. Those are the big things I'll be looking for. And with that being said, we'll make our way into team stats as we take a look at LOB-OTOMY. Got anything on this, Chalupa, or do you want me to start?
I mean, I can start us off. So with Lobotomy, we got Fighting Hamster, Salty Steve, and Tech, and what was it? Fighting Hamster. He was the one that was a part of the winning Div B championship team, right? Last semester.
Yeah, he's currently back to back. Two DP champs in a row. Finally made
Oh,
his way to a captain
okay.
slot. We'll see how he goes.
I mean, there's already there a strong captain. So hopefully they can have the rest of their season go their way. Salty Steve, another great player here, and Tech 7. Um, Surprisingly, he doesn't have the most saves on his team. As he's always been talking about before, where he's like the best defender Div C. But I guess that goes to show that since it's Div C, he's like, that's when I'm the best defender. But when it's like going up a little bit, it could get a little bit tough. So it's just interesting to see that he doesn't have the most saves. He has the least. And Salty Steve having 2.2 saves per game. How is that not most in the league? Like, who has more than 2.2 saves a game?
Yeah, we'll have to see. I am
we'll
going
have
to take
see,
this over for like 2 seconds to say this is a reoccurring fight here. Salty Steve playing his former teammate, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, last season the Rats was Skay, Salty, and Sleepy. So it's Steve on Steve action on top of a third man, a former third man versus a former second man. And then on top of that, you have Tech 7, Salty Steve, and Fighting Hamster on a team. Fighting Hamster is your go-to number 2. That man can finish a shot. Salty Steve, decent, well-played back third man. Love how he plays. It's very slow, but it's consistent, and he gets that backfield pressure well dealt with. And the last man, Tech 7, tends to be a backfield pressure. With these two teammates, he might want to look to take more of an attacking position. He's going to probably have to learn a little more this season as the season goes on. But if he can speed himself up and get more into that front line, honestly, this team could be deadly. That's also why I think he is the most demoed player in the league right now, is because he's playing slow, but he's playing out of position. He needs to be playing more forward because these other two players have been playing the same way since the start. I've seen his position and how he's played Mel throughout the seasons. We'll see how that goes. Taking a look at Goofy Goobers. I'll take this one off. Star Sleepy, he's a longtime Div Me man. Made his way pretty well last season with the Rats. They made a good run through the playoffs, but he sadly did not come out fully into LAN at all. But he played extremely well. Found himself a captain slot this season. First pick was Skull. The man himself made it to LAN last season as a second man, looking to do the same this season, however, under a winning bracket run. Man's at the top of the shots per game. However, this entire team other than Steve's looking a little rough on shooting percentage, and Steve had a rough season last season with Bodacious. Looked in the Div C area, but they were on the lower end of the pack. Sadly, Bodacious did fall out in the playoffs. Steve looking to make a better run than that. Pretty sure it was Tech 7 and Steve, if I'm not mistaken, on the same team that made that run like 2 seasons ago. With Oreo Man, or am I wrong?
Maybe. I'm not sure about that.
I think that if I'm not mistaken, my brain should be correct on that one. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun run here as we see 2 former teammates play each other in a Steve on Steve game. I can't wait. Chalupa, what do you see in this while I make sure the players are good to go?
Well, the most prominent stat, as you were talking about before, for these teams is the demos. Sleeping having 1.8 demos per game and Skull having 1.3 demos per game. It's a little bit unorthodox to see that Skull has less demos than his teammates, than one of his teammates, but it's still a pretty good amount, 1.3. And this team doesn't like to get demoed. They have some of the lowest demoed per game stats in this like division. And Skull with just under 4 shots per game with Sleepy. Both of these guys are really aggressive, as we can see. So that might be something that Lobotomy might need to take into account. They need to be looking out for those plays that there might be a little bit too far forward, and they might need to take advantage of those. But yeah, also saves per game. All of them have at least 1 per game, which pretty good for this team. And all around, they're a really solid like group of guys that are able to play off of each other, and I think they're pretty good team wise, like playing together.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I casted one of their series already, and it was a pretty good run. They made their ways deep. They made their way deep in the series. However, they lost a little bit out in like the middle games to some like minor mistakes, stuff that they could easily correct. Stuff I want to see them correct going into this game. I'm looking at mainly this game at Tech 7 and Steve. I think DCRL at the end of the day comes down to the third man, and if the third man on both teams is playing well, this is going to be a very close series. If one or the other is playing rough, it's gonna be a bit more on a one-sided series. We're working to check in here as we have a controller issue from Tech 7. He's gonna be working that one out. Sadly, I cannot reopen any of the predictions. That's just not how it works, or at least as far as I know, that's not how it works. But yeah, looking back at these rosters, I'm gonna pretty much say I remember correctly that it was that team. The last time Tech 7 and Steve both had a solid team was Tech 7, Oreo Man, and Steve. Went all the way to third place in 2 seasons ago. They played extremely well, sadly lost out. That was the season that I was in Div C, and I can remember them being a solid team. So I'm hoping to see both these players play well. I mean, they both had a rough time as Div C captains, but coming in as Div B third mans, I'm hoping for both of them to have great seasons. Chalupa, I gotta ask you, looking at the division as a whole, do you know much of these teams, or have you not been able to follow that much?
I know a couple, just because some of those players were in the same division that I was in. So obviously, thick of it. I know that Izord's on that team, and so I like to just talk to him sometimes. So, but obviously, their team was doing really good. Right when I saw the draft, and I saw his team on the basically in the draft, I was like, that's gonna be a really solid team. Just knowing the way that those 3 players like are able to basically like play, and how they played in DCRL in general has shown that they are obviously one of the top teams in this division. And Yellow Dog in this division too. I'm not sure which of these teams he was in. I completely forgot. But I haven't been paying too much attention. I might start now, at least, just so that I can have a little bit more to say on these teams whenever I am casting, because it's always fun to just be talking about these guys and see how they grow throughout the season. But obviously, this series, or this division is pretty competitive, pretty on par to when you guys were in Div C, Pen. I feel like your Div C was like really like battling back and forth on which team was the best, and there was some like, what was it? Some of the teams had like some of the same records. A lot of them did, didn't they?
Yeah, I remember it was so close my season in Div C that when we lost in the final like week or so, we dropped from third place to like 8th in one game. That killed me because I wanted a higher slot, and to be honest, if we didn't have such a bad game against, we took sleepers to 5 in our in playoffs, but if that didn't go as bad as it did, and when we didn't lose morale, it could have been a fun season to end on. But yeah, no, it was really close. A lot of teams playing right around that area. My thing with this season is there's a lot of teams that could just pop out of nowhere and pop off. Teams like Dog Nappers and Straw Hats, looking 1 and 2 right now, could easily shoot themselves up to a pretty high record by the end of the season. With City having the best player in the league, to be honest, currently with Krill, could easily start improving out of nowhere. And even the worst teams in this division have good players. Teams like Div A wannabes with their captain Creed, he played an extremely good playoffs last season with a decent backing cast. But I mean, if his teammates improve, if LOB-OTOMY gets if I told you, if Tech 7 finds his stride, LOB-OTOMY could easily push themselves into a pretty high slot. Like there's really these teams, every single team may have its downsides, but all in all, they're really good. Like there's not a single team on this list that I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's a bad team. That team doesn't have any chance at winning it. There's really none. Thick of it does have some great players. Sloppy Dogs has some great players. Goofy Goobers has some great players. And Touchables, it's got the Twins. Like, all in all, there are great teams at the top right now, but I could easily see any team below them easily taking that spot up there. I yap too much, Chalupa, but we're currently trying to make sure Tech 7's good.
Yeah, is it just his controller? I'm guessing it's just acting out.
Yes, controller cord is messing up. They're saying he's going to go KBM, but I'm wondering... I mean, I'm wondering, like, could he use his keyboard cord? I know my mouse cord and my keyboard cord, if I really, like, if stuff came down to it, I could easily switch between them. So I don't know if he's under that same situation.
He's thinking about switching to KBM, though?
Oh, boy.
What the heck?
All right, well, he might be having a KBM warrior come out of Tech 7. Interesting. All right, well, I'm going to look for a ready from both captains. And we're going to hope that Tech 7 KBM warrior style doesn't mess him up too hard, or maybe he just comes out as a KBM masterclass. We'll see.
Shout out to Scout. Obviously the KBM bro.
Hey, we have 2 Div A KBM this season. We have Scout and Amanda Disabled. Disabled is also KBM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we got 2 Div A third men's with KBM. There's a couple KBM players throughout the league, but yeah, he's gonna take his shot at it, and we'll see. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this. I'm making sure we get ready to go. We got goods from both captains. We're gonna make our way into the first game of this series.
Ooh,
and with that,
predictions.
Yeah, I was about to say, with that being said, what's your prediction on this series?
I think the KVM is gonna be really hard.
Hey, okay. I'll give you this as your middle piece. The KVM may be hard, but Steve has had less than 10 minutes to get in this, get face paint on, and get warmed up. So there's varying issues on both sides. We'll see which one reacts more, but I gotta ask, what do you got? Who in game in what game?
I think, oh man, it's gonna be so hard for that lobotomy with Tech 7 not being able to play on controller. That I think it just has to go to Goofy Goobers.
And how many games? How many games you got him?
I think they're gonna go to 4 games. I don't think it'll be a complete blowout, but yeah, it's just gonna be rough. What about you?
Yeah. No, I think I'm taking Goofy Goobers in 5. I think it's gonna be a continual issue for both these teams on closing out series, but I think that one team has had a historical record of doing so. I think the other team doesn't. If Tech 7's KBM issue becomes way more apparent, then we're gonna see a game go out in 3, but 3, maybe 4. I'd probably guess 3 though. So we'll see which one comes to fruition. Is a nice shot there by Fighting Hamster. He's able to put one in off of Sleepy's rebound, finds a goal there, and Lobotomy come up 1-0.
Yeah, and just like that, with a little double tap from the ground, Fighting Hamster barely able to get a nice soft touch to the left side, and Steve just wasn't able to make it there to get the save. And Lobotomy is up 1-0 on this unlikely lead here in game 1.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll see if that continues as Lobotomy coming out of the middle line. Fighting Hamster able to get a touch back into the blue half. Can he do anything more with it? Not quite. Steve pops this one up high. Tech 7 lies in wait on the back wall, gets one touch around, but Skull's quick on the follow. He pushes this one mid. The back man's demoed, but no one's there to follow up. Salty Steve will try to get this one wide. Sleepy with a nice cutoff. Fighting Hamster able to take it back into the corner. Another demo on the back line. Sleepy, no boost, but he gets a nice touch mid. Skull, cut around 1. Put down the crossbar pass 2. Steve from the follow-up shoots wide, and they can't find a goal early on in this game.
Yeah, and they're already taking advantage of those demos and some people being a little bit too passive. As Goofy Goobers, I think, already have 3 demos in this game, and they were all at the goal line as it almost goes in for Lobotomy's favor. But Skull countering it, going over to Salty Steve in the air, getting a nice touch towards the mid as Goofy Goobers are able to take possession here.
Yeah, and unlucky by
shot up.
I was about to say an unlucky whiff by Salty Steve there, but Fighting Hamster just booms it over and away. Tech 7 on his own back line, a pop mid here. Can he do anything with it? No. He's awkward, Sleepy, one of the fastest men in DCRL for seasons now. We'll see if he can get something to go on this back line. But a kick out by Fighting Hamster keeps it out of danger as Skull forced to meet Salty Steve on the midline. Fighting Hamster quick on the follow, pushes this one in the orange half, but it's sent to the wide by Sleepy. Steve following from the back line, but Fighting Hamster's going to cut it off to the backboard. Sleepy sends it to the left wall. It's a nice touch, but Salty Steve's there lying in wait. A shot on, but Skull pops that one clear. It's a nice touch to the far corner. Can Sleepy do anything with it? No, it's a whiff by him. A nice touch by Fighting Hamster, but straight to Skull. Tech 7, a little awkward, misses once. Salty Steve from the back line. Skull gets it over him, but Steve can't get the follow, and Salty Steve's going to push this one into the blue half.
LOB-OTOMY is putting up the pressure with them having 5 shots already in this game in the first half. They might be able to outshoot Goofy Goobers here. A little bit of like the turnaround story with Tech not being able to score, as Skull almost getting around the team. Fighting Hamster up on the wall with no boost and not able to do much with it. Steve might be able to get an aerial play, but Steve gets contested by Salty Steve, and it's 50'd over towards LOB-OTOMY's half. Fighting Hamster might be able to get a nice catch of the air. Skull almost powering it through Tech, but Tech is able to get the save off. Sleepy centering it for his team. Salty Steve might be able to get a shot off. Skull barely able to get the save there with 3 saves of his own, having a savior.
Yeah, I like that patience by Skull, but he's able to get the save pretty nicely. Feeds into a good place for his team. Tech 7, awkward on the back line. Salty Steve with a nice touch. When we were talking about KBM Warriors, we completely forgot his own captain, Fighting Hamster, is a KBM Warrior himself.
Oh, yeah.
The man plays on the keys. We'll see if that little connection there is enough to make it through, as Fighting Hamster able to work into their back line. 2 men back, but it's a little awkward. A touch around 1. Salty Steve can't find it. Sleepy boxed off from the ball. Hamster on the turnaround, straight to Skull. Skull pops that one up. Steve on the follow. Can he beat out Salty Steve? Yes, drop down to Sleepy. Sleepy puts one on. And Tech 7 can't find it. They find a tie-up goal.
What a beautiful touch coming in from Steve. Getting the nice 50, and Sleepy able to get the touch, barely on goal, and Tech is just not in the right position to get that save. It is tied up for this game with 1 minute remaining.
I love when Rocket League doesn't want to do audio. Makes my life so much easier.
Oh man, getting the sniffles right now. It's not good.
There we go. All right, cool. Game volume's back on. Perfect. Love a little scuffness. My overlay's been a little awkward, and my OBS has been trying to avoid playing audio for like a week now. It's really annoying. But that's a nice cut by Skull. Moves his way into the mid-half. Salty Steve punches one up high, but is anyone there to follow? Tech 7 gets with a whiff off that KBM aerial. Fighting Hamster with a better touch, but it floats right to the corner, straight to Steve. Steve pops it up to his teammate, Sleepy on the follow. He's over 1. Can Sleepy play it any further? Tech 7 lies in wait. Straight to Skull. Skull with a nice touch to the corner, but Salty Steve is there. He cuts it off. Steve flying in. A lot of boost with time, but Fighting Hamster easily able to find the one on the back line. A demo comes out. It's bumped 2, but no one there. Skull, top left. Can't find it by Salty. Skull finds a shot there and put them up with 4 seconds left.
A beautiful clean up. Sleepy barely missing the ball, but Skull is able to turn right back and put it to the top left binnies where no one can reach it. And they're up 2-1 with 4 seconds left. Can they find the goal to tie it up? LOB-OTOMY, come on. They might be able to. And it was so close. And Sleepy clearing it out and giving Goofy Goobers their first win of this series.
Yeah, if that pinch was a little faster and a little lower, could have found itself in the net very easily. Skull coming out as the man of that game, but Steve, 4 demos all on the back line. Looking fantastic from an offensive perspective. They were able to find some feet late in the game. Their first goal with a minute left, their second with 4 seconds left. Goofy Goobers coming back in this series, warming up into it. We'll see if that continues. Chalupa, what do you think that LOB-OTOMY need to look at to find their way back in this series? That's a bit of a rough win. You took a lead early, but then you immediately lost it.
I mean, they were having really good pressure right at the start of that game 1. And I think that's what they really need to do, because when they didn't have any pressure and it was on their half, they weren't able to contain it. Then Goofy Goobers were able to just get it around them. So if they're able to keep the ball on the side of Goofy Goobers and were able to control it and to have that team play, because Fighting Hamster had some great passes over to the mid side. And obviously the 2 other people that are there in mid are needing to finish the ball, obviously. That's like the story of most games, is that you just need to finish. And if you finish, you're able to have those, like, even just 1 to 2 goals that you desperately need to be able to win that game.
Yeah, no doubt. And looking out here, they're going to try to make something happen here, as They need to find a game back in this series. If not, it's going to look rough, as the nice touch by Fighting Hamster puts it in the middle for Salty Steve, but he's cut off by the other Steve. Steve from the sidewall can't find anything. Fighting Hamster able to get one long. Sleepy to cut it off. No turnaround from Steve. Lets this ball roll into the orange corner. I really want to see some more offensive pressure from Steve as he comes flying up. Pops this one mid. Sleepy forced to turn around. Wait on it. Skull with a fake. Lets that one fly. Tech 7 on the cut. Steve can't quite get to him in time, but kills him for his efforts. Tech 7 forced to do an automatic rotation as a nice touch mid. Is anyone there to follow? Salty Steve gets it up, but Skull on the back line, able to pop this one mid. Tech 7 quick on the follow. He gets a touchdown, but no power as Steve able to clear that one away.
Yeah, this team going back and forth right at the beginning. I feel like that's always happening with this team. Is that right at the beginning of these games, it's just like back and forth, and there's not much like, I don't know, pressure. Not pressure.
Oh,
but
Sleepy.
Opportunities, I should say, as it goes back and forth between these two halves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a little bit of boomer ball mixed with like control. It's like they'll send one and then not have any follow up. It's kind of annoying. There was a bit of boomer ball action. This ball floats mid, but Fighting Hamster able to cut it off. Sleepy turns around, letting Steve cut in early. Sleepy on the follow. Sends this one to the corner. Salty Steve. It's an awkward read. Sleepy plays it back for his team. Skull on the follow gets this one mid, but Fighting Hamster able to send it away. This ball floating back. Tech 7 lying in the forward area, able to get a boost steal, but Skull up, gets it around one, and they're going to get some time here on the blue half to get some boost, get some opportunity here. Sleepy can't make the cut. Fighting Hamster pushes it on to the far side. Skull cuts it to the corner and will try to work it away, but that's about all he can do.
Yeah, Salty Steve might be able to get some control as it goes straight over towards Goofy Goobers. Almost said lobotomy there by accident, but Skull putting the pressure on the backboard as Sleepy almost able to follow up, but Fighting Hamster is there to get the 50. Going over towards the Goofy Goober side as it's in their corner. Nice and controlled. Steve has the ball, able to demo Tech 7. Salty Steve following up and might be able to get it to the top bins as Salty Steve getting the first goal of this game and putting a much needed lead for Lobotomy here.
Yeah, Sleepy unable to get that touch. Skull unable to get back in time. A little awkward rotation from the defense. Not expecting that 50 by Tech 7. That chow worked out perfectly, playing straight to Salty Steve. Salty Steve able to make work of it. We'll see if this changes though, and if it's not a repeat game, a 1-goal lead into a 2-goal victory for the opponents. But we'll find out as this ball rolling into the blue half. A missed bump by Tech. Steve on the follow, puts just one up high. Fighting Hamster with a nice cut. Flows back into the blue half. Skull forced to go up to send it away from their goal line. Salty Steve on the follow-up. This goes off the crossbar. Sent away. Nice save by Skull and Sleepy, but not much more there. Skull forced with low boost to make an effective touch on this ball. He's able to do so. This ball floating into the orange half. Salty Steve. Nice cut out wide. Sleepy with a nice ball. This open net, but a quick turn by Steve. Not enough power. This ball is going to float back in the midline. Skull to cut it off. Can't do much with it, and the orange team will remain. Lobotomy will hold on.
Some of these demos are deadly. I'm telling you, some of these demos are deadly, and they're barely able to come out unscathed as it almost goes straight into their net from the pinch. Fighting Hamster trying to get the double up, but Steve able to save it over towards his corner. Sleepy having the control in the air, but having no boost, almost getting the flip reset. Steve touching it over towards Fighting Hamsters. Fighting Hamster might be able to get another control touch over here. Steve with little to no boost, and it's going over towards their backboard. Will anyone be able to read this? No, both whiffs coming from both teams. Salty Steve onto the right side as he might be able to follow it up. No boost in the air. All of these aerial plays having no boost. Everyone that's in the air has no boost. It's just so unfortunate for these teams.
Yeah, it is, but Salty Steve with a bad collect on the back line. Fighting Hamster able to force it out wide, but Steve cuts it off. Fighting Hamster trying to play out of his own half, but nice cut by Sleepy. This ball floating mid, no one there, but it's awkward. This ball floating back towards Steve. He puts someone on and high. Can anyone get there? No, they can't. The tie-up goal comes late again for Goofy Goobers, but they find it with 45 seconds left.
Steve v. Steve, both of them having the goals and in the top bins where no one can reach it.
I think that one literally was just awkward for him, though. I don't think that was really top bins, really, but I mean, it works out for them. And Yeah, true. With 40 seconds left, do they find a recovery here? It's going to be the same story repeated as this ball trying to work its way into the blue half. 30 seconds left. Bean, what's going to happen here? Honestly, I got no clue.
I don't know. Steve, Sleepy was almost able to get an aerial play. He got a beautiful 50, but Tech, the keyboard warrior, able to get it out for his team. Going over towards the Goofy Goober side. Sleepy controlled over 2 people. Salty Steve able to have a controlled touch to his left side. Might be able to get a good 50 off. It goes straight up. Another demo coming from Steve. Skull not in the right position to be able to get a shot off. Up in the air, 0 seconds left. Will they be able to score? Sleepy trying to get it on the ground, and he's able to with overtime for game 2 here.
Yeah, game 2 overtime. We find ourselves tied up, the same position, just no late goal for Goofy Goobers. We'll see if they can end off the series here. It's Tech 7 with a nice touch long. Steve not boosting backwards, but he eventually does. Meets Tech 7 in the corner. He doesn't get the boost though, as Sleepy tries to play it out of their own half. Fighting Hamster awkward in his back corner. He can't do much around it. Salty Steve bumped. Steve on the turn gets cut off by Salty Steve. This ball floating back into the blue half. Someone needs to make a touch on it. No one does. Fighting Hamster puts it away. And LOB-OTOMY find their way back in this series with game number 2.
This is what I like to see. The team that I thought was going to lose, obviously having the guts to say, you're just wrong. Like, we're going to be in this game the entire time. And Fighting Hamster able to finish it off for his team here. And Fighting Hamster is having a really good series here with these first 2 games. Putting the team on his back, obviously being the captain. He's playing really well here, and unfortunate for Tech as it's looking like he has a little bit of internet issues, spiking sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue, but he also is playing at a bare minimum here. 16 touches that game. Decent turnout for 16 touches, but nonetheless, he's not getting much touches on the ball, and that might come to be an issue, especially on the defensive side. We're seeing a lot more out of Steve, a little bit more out of Skull, and Sleepy's playing fast, but I need to play a little more precise. He had a couple good opportunities, so did Skull, but their aerials were just a little inadequate. Inadequate for what they're trying to do. Fighting Hamster forced to be the man to stop all men, playing the game like it's his life's blood here. He's doing what he can. We'll see if he can continue doing so. But yeah, going into this next game, I need to see a little bit more out of Sleepy, specifically tactically, and I need to see a little bit more out of Tech 7. I know that's rough for him with the KBM nerf.
Yeah, and also something to add in that Goofy Goobers, I'm pretty sure, had 7 demos that game.
Yeah.
Combined.
Yeah, it was 7. Yep.
And that still wasn't enough to get them the goals. They had some great opportunities with those demos, but they weren't able to finish it off, and that was the downfall for them. If they were able to just get one person that was a little bit closer to the play, they would have a free open net. So they might need to watch out for that too.
So I was paying attention to that. They had a lot of good demos where they got the person on the back line. They had an open net. The issues was lack of follow-up. They'd have the first man go. They'd have the second man go. The first man would get the demo. The second man would get it mid. But there'd be no third man. No man to finish it. So what they need is they need to push their third in situations where they know they can get that demo. It's very hard to do. It's very, very, very awkward for the third man. Oh, that's an awkward an awkward attempt at an aerial by Sleepy and LOB-OTOMY find an early lead.
That was just an unfortunate takeoff from Sleepy, not able to get in position to be able to get that goal. And Fighting Hamster just has an open net for him. Just an unfortunate mechanical mistake.
Yeah, I told you his aerials aren't looking exact, and that's what's going to scare me. If he's not playing well in the air, his team's going to be a little bit nerfed for that. This ball able to float mid, Skull with a nice touch. It's going long, but met well by Tech 7. Floated to the outside, a touch by Sleepy, sends this one back mid. Fighting Hamster able to push that one away. Steve cut it off early. It's a nice touch to the outside, but no one to follow for his team. Salty Steve's gonna be able to push that one deep. An awkward touch leaves Sleepy on the back line. This pop out to Steve though. He's round 2. Fighting Hamster last man, but he just sits there, lets the ball come to him, and he plays it well. This ball floating into the half. Steve tries to go for the redirect, can't quite find it. The demo comes out, but there's no good follow-up. Sleepy on the quick follow. Salty Steve able to feed this one out of his half. That's all he really has to do is just feed it out. His team's in the lead. They're controlling a pretty good defense here. Fighting Hamster is being consistent in the air. And with that awkward touch there, it's going to leave him on the back line. Can't quite find it. This ball's going to remain in the blue half, but they're safe for the time being.
Yeah, it's just looking a little bit unfortunate for Goofy Goobers. Just some of these mechanical mistakes are a little, just little things that if they just fixed their takeoffs, it would be working wonders for them.
Oh,
A Skull might be able
misread.
to get a scoring opportunity here, but just barely misses. Steve trying to get it.
Get it.
Maybe getting a flip reset.
Oh,
to
Skull!
Skull! What a save from Salty Steve! Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, that was a great pass over to Skull, but he just wasn't able to finish that. Steve, an unfortunate miss here, as Salty Steve getting a 50 off for the team, as Sleepy might get an opportunity off the backboard top left, just a little bit off, as their entire team is able to be there safe and sound, for them to be just getting it out of their side. And these two teams, are you seeing? I think there's a change that happened in Lobotomy. I think there's a playstyle change, and it's happened for like the best. Don't you think, Ben?
Yeah, I think so, but it's really going to come down to how well they can hold their defense here. They've changed up their style. They're playing a little bit more of an attacking defense, and it's working for the time being. But a bit more monkeying and a couple more demos could easily tear that apart. So they're going to really have to look at, can they maintain it? Can they control this playstyle, especially with Tech 7 being a little more inconsistent than normal? But we'll see as Fighting Hamster able to play this one into the blue corner. Skull in the back line gets a bit of a controlling touch, but it's played around 2. Steve with a nice touch out. Skull to follow. He gets it around 1. It's floating in the back line. It's a nice save by Steve. He's got 2 beauties this game. We'll see if that continues. This ball floating mid. Salty Steve floats this one high into the blue corner. Fighting Hamster on the follow. Puts it to back wall. Follows it up well. No one in the back line. Skull able to get there in time. Steve on the turn though. Puts it high. Sleepy able to get it away. Sleepy on the follow, able to get it over 1. Not much more, but able to get it over 2. He's got no boost, but he's got energy as the ball stays in the midline, but Steve able to push it back into the blue half.
Yeah, these saves from Salty Steve were insane. They were just the ones that his team needed, and obviously it's going pretty good for them. Salty Steve bumping Steve out of the way, but the other two were able to get there safe and sound. Fighting Hamster getting it over towards the mid for Salty Steve, might be able to get another touch.
Oh, Steve.
And Salty Steve catching it from Steve's touch and able to put it into the right side, getting them up 2-0.
So one thing I don't like that happened there was a little bit earlier, Skull went for a demo. Did he get the demo? Yes, but it was on a 0 boost awkward Tech 7 in their own half. Like, you instead of doing that demo, you play with your boost, you move forward, and you get offensive pressure. Instead, the demo leaves them like lying on their back foot in their back line, and Tech 7 gets a free rotation with boost. It's not great for them as this ball floating high. Steve to follow. Can't do anything with the flip. Salty Steve on the follow-up. Can't quite find it, but Sleepy puts it in himself. And Goofy Goobers can write off this game, because as nice a goal every 12 seconds would be, it's looking unlikely.
LOB-OTOMY came to play, as that was just an unfortunate touch from Sleepy. Just him going straight down on the ball, and it's putting him up 3-0, and it's looking rough for these 30 seconds. Obviously, they could still score, but it's extremely unlikely, as Skull might be able to put it straight in, but Salty Steve saving the ball onto the right side. Salty Steve might be able to get it as a Fighting Hamster controlling it. Steve slowly going to the left side of the corner. Tech not able to get a touch there. Skull 50ing it over towards Steve, as Steve might put it on net. Fighting Hamster is there to put it over to the left side. 5 seconds left. I don't think there can be any goals to save them this game. And LOB-OTOMY up 2-1 in this series with a KBM Tech 7. I mean, it speaks for itself. I think they came to play, and the other two are like, we might need to make up a little bit, because obviously Tech 7 isn't completely comfortable in the KBM. But obviously it's working out great for them, as Salty Steve and Fighting Hamster putting up great games just on their own.
Yeah, they are. Tech 7 playing like he's not even playing that hard. It's really Salty Steve coming in a lot. His 2 saves, while they are only 2 of them, were clutch. They were in great passing plays, last second efforts, and it was just Salty Steve on the back. And Salty Steve just able to completely stop out the attacking force that is Goofy Goobers. They were able to find 8 shots, no goals though. and we're forced to go on the defensive side, I need to see better demos from them. I need to see better offensive pressure. I need to see, if they're going to demo anyone, make it the two guys that are playing effective every match and not the guy that's on his own back foot the entire game because he's playing on a KVM instead of controller.
Yeah, I think they're relying too much on the demos on Tech 7, which is a bit unfortunate. They're just basically stat padding on the demos. As you can see right there, Sleepy getting another demo on Tech 7. They're just stat padding at this point. I don't think they need those demos at all. Those are the demos they need the least.
Yeah, no doubt.
They need a different game plan here to be able to come back in the series.
Yeah, and I think that game plan is really going to be play to the mid and demo the other two. If they're going to demo at all, if they're going to make that their offensive weapon, demo the two guys that are giving you trouble. Specifically, Fighting Hamster, probably the top one, but Salty Steve on the defensive line has been looking fantastic. And so if you go for a demo on him, especially in a good transition, you're going to get a free shot. Especially since Fighting Hamster is forced to play so far up like that. And this ball floating back, no one back to get their Skull from deep finds a goal early, and this is an absolute opposite from what we've seen in the last two games.
A beautiful shot, finding the opportunity, putting it up to the top left, and no one was able to get back, and that's what they needed. They saw Fighting Hamster was a little bit too far up. He got the touch, but they saw that it wasn't a great touch, and they were able to shoot it and able to finish it off, and they're able to have the lead here. As Sleepy getting another opportunity as it bounced off the corner and just going straight in.
Yeah, Sleepy gets a nice touch off that. Oh, Hamster just doesn't get high enough. That's all it really is. And Sleepy finds one again, and with 2-0 lead, this is the most goals they've scored since game one. And they're finally finding some offensive pressure, but they gotta hope that it doesn't immediately get countered. There's a nice touch by Steve. Fighting Hamster almost able to get there, but Skull gets it past him. Skull working his way into the midline, beats out Tech 7. He's got 150 to beat, but Fighting Hamster flying back, able to get there in time. Sleepy with speed, pops this one high and mid. He's gonna just slowly float around the line as Steve isn't able to get there in time. Skull from the middle, able to get a touch around one, touch around two. This ball floating mid again. Steve can't find anything. This ball's gonna float back into the corner. Salty Steve to push it out.
Sleepy over here on the left side with the no boost. Got the corner boost at least, denying it for their opponent's team. As Skull trying to get it mid for Steve, almost getting the shot off, and it's off the backboard. Salty Steve with no boost, put it over towards the mid as Tech getting a pop over towards Skull. Skull not getting the best touch here. Fighting teams are almost able to cut it off. Skull was getting it over to the court as Salty Steve not getting the 50 that he wanted from Sleepy. Finishing it and giving their team the 3-0.
Do you see this? The tap off the wall to get Tech 7 and then a pop over one. Oh, Sleepy. That was mechanical masterclass right there. Finds another goal, and Goofy Goobers go from on their back foot in the series, back foot in the game. They found themselves in match point. They're looking strong heading into the second half of the game 4, and I think they'd want to just keep the momentum rolling, try to roll the rest of the series with it.
They're like, we're not trying to mess around no more. We're coming back to play, baby. And obviously they came to play indeed, as Skull almost able to get it around, but no beans. Fighting Hamster popping it around their team. Skull might be able to get a pass off to Sleepy and Steve. Tech slowing it down, and Skull getting a nice shot off, but Salty Steve able to be there, getting the 50 over towards the right side. Tech passing it over towards the mid. Nobody's there from LOB-OTOMY's side, as Skull getting a soft touch over towards the middle. Steve barely able to get the save off as he's on the car, able to dribble it around off the backboard. Maybe he might be able to read this. Skull barely off the mark. Salty Steve might be able to just bulldoze this straight into the goal, but no luck here, as the game is still 3-0 and there is no answers coming from LOB-OTOMY here.
Not at all. It's Steve able to make his way around one. Can't do much more. This ball floating to the outside. Tech 7, awkward touch, doesn't find it. Sleepy flowing in the back line. Salty Steve with a nice touch into the corner. A minute and 20 seconds left. They find themselves 3-0 here. It's Skull finds another one. 4-0. A nice touch from the outside, just sneaks past the defense.
That was perfect placement right there. Just oh man, Funny Hamster was almost able to make it, but he just didn't turn sharp enough, and Skull was able to barely get it past him, and it's a 4-0. This is the team that I thought I was gonna see the entire time, right here. This is what I was hoping for, but obviously those last two games were just rough for them. I don't know what happened. Fighting Hamster getting a nice shot where no one was able to get back. It's a little confusing.
Yeah, a little awkward double commit on the back line. Steve didn't use his boost in time. He needed to see that pressure was coming. He decided instead to just get into that back post position. His teammate not able to get back there in time. Goofy Goobers got the 4-0 lead, but LOB-OTOMY able to find one back. Sleepy, though, trying to end it off quickly here as he moves quickly into the back line. This ball floating back mid to Skull. Skull with the shot on. Tech 7 and Fighting Hamster pop that one up to Steve. Steve off the side with a nice touch in the air. Can he follow it? No. Fighting Hamster's there quicker. Skull turning around in his own corner. Can he beat out Fighting Hamster? No, he can't. Fighting Hamster round one. Sleepy follows it out of his own corner. Can he do anything more? No. Salty Steve with a nice touch back into that corner. Salty Steve flows this one mid. Fighting Hamster there, but Steve able to get that one away. Tech 7 floating in the midline. Can he get anything away from Steve? Steve with no boost leaves it for Sleepy. Sleepy pops him up into the ball instead, and Fighting Hamster pushes that one away. 30 seconds left, a 3-goal lead. There's not looking very good for LOB-OTOMY, but they might want to get some momentum back here late in this game.
Yeah. And as we're ending off this game over towards the right side, Steve might be able to get a pinch off of the wall as Cole, being there with him as Tech 7 slowing it down in their corner, popping it around towards the other side as Goofy Goobers able to finish this out in style with 4-1. Ball is still up in the air. Skull might be able to pass it over to Steve. Steve up. Oh, not able to get enough air. And game 5 is upcoming here, as obviously one team has been into game 5, or both game 5s in their first two series, and they're able to win, and the other team has lost both of their game 5s. We'll see if the tides turn in this series.
Yeah, game 5's the bane of LOB-OTOMY's existence. They find themselves there again for the third game in a row. Both their week 1, week 2, and now their ASAP games going all the way to this point. We'll see if that continues to be their plague as we find ourselves on the back foot. Actually, this is their week 2 matchup. So both their ASAP game and their week 1 game going to game 5. Honestly, I'm interested to see if that momentum carries over, if they come out firing this game and they just let that game to chance. I'm not entirely sure. I can't wait to see. But guess what, Bean? Guess what, Chalupa? Guess what? We are heading our asses over to Champions Field for game 5. Woo! Let's see what happens. One team 0-2 in game 5s. One team 2-0 in game 5s. Who will win? Will precedent stand, or will there be a new champion in Champions Field? Sleepy on the front line. Can he get something mid here? It's a nice touch, but it's sent right back to Skull. Skull with a pop over to Steve in the front line. Can't find it. Skull tries to get a cut around Salty Steve on the back line. Can't do much more, but he gets a nice touch, keeping it in their corner. Steve pops this one up. Is Sleepy there? Yes, he is, but he's not in time. This ball floating back mid. Tech 7 cuts it off, and it floats back towards Skull. Skull out of his own back line. The ball floating off the back wall. Caught by Steve. Steve around 1, almost around 2, but not quite. Sleepy to the backboard. It pops high. Can he get anything here? He goes low. It did. Sleepy finds it. An early goal in game number 5.
Oh, what a touch from Sleepy. Not having enough boost to be able to get there fast, but Tech 7 wasn't able to get the touch off that he needed, and Sleepy barely getting that soft shot that he barely got, and was able to get the first goal for Goofy Goobers here in game 5.
Yeah, it was close there. We'll see if they can find their way deeper into this. Pretty sure I'm dropping frames right now, which is not fantastic, but that's okay. That's going to recover really quick here, so should be all good as we make our way deeper into this match. 354 on Goofy Goober's side here as we make our way. into this 4th minute, and they're in the lead, but they need to find a way to either extend it or hold it. As Sleepy not able to get a good touch. This ball floating back for Fighting Hamster. Skull collects it in the corner. He pops this one up high. Skull tries to get around one, can't quite. Steve gets a nice hard touch to Skull. Skull on the follow, goes down and up, and Steve on the back line, able to find it the first touch. This ball floating mid still, but Steve can't quite get any more out of it, and Fighting Hamster is going to be able to make it out of their own half. Can he do anything here on the offensive side?
Salty Steve is playing really well defensively, getting those nice saves, especially from game 3. He was able to get those saves as Tech not able to get it. And Sleepy getting his 2nd goal here in game 5 as he barely popped it over. And it's just awkward for Tech. It's so unfortunate here.
Yeah, sadly, I'm sacrificing my own comfort and coolness for good frames. Sorry for the delay on that one. I had to go open a door to let internet into the room, which I never thought I'd have to do, which is in turn freezing me. We'll see how this goes. Those goofy goobers find themselves up 2-0. Lobotomy on the back foot here as Sleepy moves this one far up into the front line. Sleepy off the sidewall, gets a nice hard touch, hard to read, floating mid, put away by Steve, and the momentum keeps rolling through as we are only almost halfway through this game.
Yeah, they did not want those game 2 and 3 to define who they are as a team. They're like, these next 2 games, we're showing them what we are as a team. And they wanted to make a statement here in game 5 as they're up 3-0 with 3 minutes left in this game as they're trying to look for their 4th here. Sleepy almost able to get it off of the backboard and putting it straight in. Steve trying to get it going as Salty Steve might be able to get a 50 off. Sleepy almost getting the double tap there as it's slowly going over towards the mid. Fighting Hamster barely getting a flick off. Steve with not a ton of boost up in this wall, able to flick it around off the backboard, almost getting the double tap with the amount of boost that he had. That was almost an insane shot. Salty Steve going over towards their corner, grabbing the boost, might be able to make a play here. Fighting Hamster, soft touch over towards Tech. Will Tech be able to get a flick off with the KBM? Looking good at Fighting Hamster and not getting the touch that he wants. Salty Steve might be able to get the double tap here as Sleepy clearing it out for his team there. Skull.
It goes just wide off Skull's touch there, floating to the back line. Steve gets a nice touch high. Can he do anything more on it? This ball floating down mid. Fighting Hamster pushes it away. A nice touch there by Skull. Puts this one mid, but sent away again. Sleepy forced to return back. And Salty Steve, not enough boost, but he fakes out one. Fighting Hamster on the follow, can't find anything. Skull, he'll push it out wide. Salty Steve on a nice turn, but Steve turns with him. This ball floating mid again, Sleepy in the air, gets a nice touch into the mid, and just delaying this game longer. They want this ball on the ground, they want it fast, and they want it into their opponent's half. They're running out of time, and with a 3-goal deficit, they've only got about 30 seconds left per goal to go. This ball floating back, Skull cuts it off early. It's a nice touch to the corner. Can he do anything out of it? It's a nice touch into the orange half. No follow-up though. And Steve will lie in wait on the offensive side. Same with Sleepy. Sleepy pops this one down mid, but Fighting Hamster able to get that one away.
Almost getting the waterfall touch as Skull might be able to get a backward read off of this. Steve trying to get the double tap. These guys are just reading it off the backward, one of the walls. As Tech might be able to get a nice 50 for his team. As Salty Steve put it over towards their goal, but Skull is able to get there just a bit faster. Floating over towards Tech, not able to get the touch. As Sleepy controlled, trying to pop it over the team. Salty Steve getting the nice
we've got a rule number 1. Fighting Hamster and another find themselves into a rule number 1. They're stuck on the midline. This ball floating mid to Skull. Skull with a whiff. He's gonna delay as he pushes it back into his own half. Tech 7. And Salty Steve sitting there. Steve taking out their number 1 player and Fighting Hamster. That's not what you want to see with this rule 1 for the final 15 seconds here. The ball floating back towards the back line, and Goofy Goobers will tie in this win with a goal with 9 seconds left.
I would just like to say I respect Fighting Hamster for sticking with the rule 1, even though they were down 3 goals. I find respect, and Skull was able to find the opportunity there to get the open goal. And 4-0 with 10 seconds left. Extremely unlikely that LOB-OTOMY is able to finish this out as it's just floating in their corner. No one able to read it. Might be able to get a 5th shot as it floats for Goofy Goober's way. as they were able to end in dominant fashion here in Game 5 to show that they did not come here to play. They came here to make a statement for these teams and showing that we are the best team and we're the team that's going to be winning DCRL.
Yeah, they came out absolutely stunning their opponents, finding a fantastic win there. And Goofy Goobers go on with the continuing the precedent of Game 5 winners, while LOB-OTOMY need to somehow keep a game to 4, and that's not what you want to see continuing for them. As we pull these boys in and work ourselves into a lovely little winners interview. I love how Skull loves to join before I need him to, so that I don't have anything set up. Thank you so much for doing that for the 15th time. But we're here, they're here too. We gotta say congratulations for the win, and welcome on in.
Oh,
thank you.
All right, so I got my first question over to Steve. Stevie, coming into this game, I heard that you had no idea there was a game, and you found out 10 minutes prior. First off, is that correct?
I knew there was a game, and I knew we planned for 4. I just didn't realize we actually scheduled it, and I wasn't prepared.
Fair enough. And then my follow-up question on that will be, did it affect your play at all, or do you think that you just had to warm up into it starting that first game?
Dude, I had to go into my bathroom and quickly throw something on my face, so I didn't get time to warm up.
Fair enough. Played good nonetheless. I'm gonna toss my second one over to Sleepy. Sleepy, what happened in those two games where you guys were down for a little bit? What was going through the minds? What was happening? What'd you guys change to get yourselves back into that matchup?
We just started playing faster. I mean, it was basically 2v3. I mean, Tech was on KBM. But no, we just had like 2 bad whiffs. I mean, I had a really bad miss. I saw Chalupa's face, and I was like, bro. But no, we started playing faster. We just realized they were just slower than us. So I don't know, when we're faster, rotations were better. So got the easy dub.
Yeah, fair enough. You guys looked great out there. Any questions for the boys, Chalupa?
I'll go over to Skull. I was looking at the game stats right before, and I saw that you didn't have the most demos on your team, man. Well, what is going on with that?
I don't know. We don't like when we're like those last couple games when we were playing faster. Like our rotations are good enough when we're playing fast that if we just boost still, we don't really need to hunt for demos.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there were a couple like during the games we were struggling. I started looking for more, maybe try to get us a little more space. But I don't know. We don't like so far. We haven't really had the need to just like spam demos. We can just kind of steal boost and keep pressure, and it just falls in eventually.
Fair enough. All right, well, boys, I gotta go. I got homework to do. I bet you guys also have stuff to do. Thank you guys so much for staying on stream. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Congratulations on the win. And hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your long weekend and a good week going forward.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate the cast.
Thank you.
We're gonna say peace out to the boys. Head back to me and Chalupa. Chalupa, what a game! I'm not mad at that. It was exactly what I predicted, so I can't be mad at that. So I'll take it. The precedent remains true. Both teams wanting Game 5 seem to always get there, but Goofy Goobers, as precedent did say, wins Game 5. They find themselves up 3-0 in DCRL so far, but a bit of a rough 3-0. I'm hoping to see them improve a little bit more, find their way into some shorter series where they still get that win. What do you have to say?
Stay frosty. I have no idea. There's not really much to say. But a quick thing that I could say, obviously use code DCRL whenever you're using the Epic Game Store.
So you're gonna take my spiel. Wow.
Yeah, I am taking your spiel right now.
Damn.
Whenever you need to make poor financial decisions, as you would say, just using that code DCRL helps us so much. And just that you help support us as we are growing in this league. And hopefully we can come back stronger next semester and the semester after that and the semester after that.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you everyone for watching this this bit of a midday Monday President's Day game. Thank you guys so much for coming in for us. A little bit before we head off tonight, look down there, or this afternoon, I should say. Look down there, you got our socials. We're gonna be looking to post a lot more coming up here on the socials, so make sure you're following. It'll tell you when games are being played earlier in the day. It's gonna tell you, it's gonna have shorts, it's gonna have a bunch of other stuff. If you're not in the Discord already and you're watching this right now, bottom right corner, discord.gg/DCRL, make sure you hop on in there. And like Bean Chalupa said, if you're gonna make poor life decisions, you might as well let us in on a little bit of the cash. Make sure you throw an epic creator code DCRL for any Fortnite or Rocket League purchases. With that being said, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you so much for being here. We really do appreciate anyone who watches, anyone who follows us up on our socials, and anyone who uses that code, as we actually added the code as a joke, but now it's actually becoming almost profitable for us. So thank you guys so much for that. With that being said, we're heading out. Y'all have a great day. Peace out from the desk.